bill, it came out in 2019, and this protection, personal data protection bill talks more about how an organization dealing with Indian citizens, what type of data they need to be capturing, how they need to store the data. It is
Hmm.
just in line with GDPR itself.
Yes,
Just
yes.
that the Indian government, they have tweaked it for
Correct,
the
according to
advantage
their
of the
own
Indian.
economic laws and conditions, and the people operating here. So yes, so basically it really deals with guidelines of collection, storage, and processing of personal data of the citizens which are living in India.
Correct.
Yes, and
Uh,
and the major pointers which I have, I've just gone through a general, information, and what I've observed is that they are really focusing on the purpose why you are taking the data, how you are processing the data, what are the sources through which you are processing the data, and what are what is the retention time period, till how many days you are retaining a sort of a data for X sort of a purpose.
Even our Indian PDP Act also talks about data minimization, data retention policy, how the data
Hmm.
is being gathered. So all these information are covered in our law also. For example, let's take example of a social media account itself. I have been
Hmm.
using a social media account for almost some 10 or 15 years. Now I do not
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
continue.
Hmm.
Then in that case, what these acts will ensure is they will ensure that my data is not being uh, retented further, or even
Hmm.
prolonged retention also should not be
Hmm.
there. And the
Hmm.
moment I choose to opt out of it, the service provider should delete all my data, taking my
Hmm.
consent to opt out. So the
Hmm.
user would be in charge of what his data should be done after he moves out or he unsubscribes from that particular social media account or any media
Hmm.
account.
Hmm. Right, right. So,
Mm.
when talking about these social media, hacks and those data breaches, can we just talk about these, privacy framework? If I just talk about the design framework, which has been normally, performed by all the vendors, then how it will be, how it will be of some use for the security and consulting companies, and how can it be linked to, if you're, just talking about the PDP here. So how can it be linked to
Mhm.
PDP, and how can we structure everything, and how can a security company can do it for the companies?
Mm. So, first of all, those companies will have to talk to their legal teams, and then they need to understand uh, whether they need to comply with this particular country law or not. That is the
Hmm.
first check that they need to do. Secondly, if
Hmm.
they get a confirmation from their legal team that yes, we need to abide by these particular laws, since we are dealing with that particular country citizens, we are capturing
Hmm.
these information because of which we come under the radar. Then in that case, the next thing the company has to do is either they can go with their own chief privacy team or they can go with their third party service providers.
Hmm.
However, means that is left to the organizations how they want to do it. But later comes the stage where they need to have a defined process. They need to have their standards in place, which will
Hmm.
ensure that the standard will clearly say that the user information must be gathered by having a display screen on the means a checkbox on the main screen, or else
Okay.
during the terms and conditions you need to display in very clear text under bullet points that what information of the user is being gathered. For example, the first bullet point would say that we are gathering your PII data, personally identifiable
Okay.
information. It means your
Hmm.
name, address, phone number,
Hmm.
your shipping address, etc. would be
Hmm.
captured.
Hmm.
Later,
Hmm.
if that company or if that website is dealing with any PCI data, payment card industry data, then they need to mention even those level of information where they will say that we are capturing your credit card information only for easy flow. And the next time when you return, then you
Hmm.
just need to enter your CVV number. We are not
Hmm.
storing any of your credit card information or debit card information in clear text. We are storing only the last four digits of your credit card information. All
Hmm.
these needs to be defined very clearly in the terms and conditions.
Hmm.
What has happened in all these many years is they would give some 50 pages of document for the users
Hmm.
to read, and they
Hmm.
just need to click on yes, I agree, I have read the terms and conditions, and they submit it.
Hmm.
But with all these laws coming into picture, the user
Yeah,
is
those
also
things have become a sort of a, utmost importance, and bringing a lot of relevance
hmm,
for both the parties.
correct. Now the customer also cannot deny in the court saying that yeah, I never read your terms and conditions.
Yeah,
Then the
yeah,
service
yeah.
provider, how they can defend themselves is they can show the screen. in the court, and we can say that, see,
Hmm.
this is how my terms and conditions page both the parties can justify themselves
Hmm.
if they have followed all the regulatories very strictly. That is where the standards are very critical for any organization to have a base on. After the standards
Hmm.
are defined, the next comes the secure software development lifecycle.
Hmm.
Yes, having a software development lifecycle and then developing a web application and then just releasing a product into the wild is not a good idea. Always
Hmm.
integrate security into your software development lifecycle, and then ensure
Okay.
that you have put all security checkpoints in each and every phase of your development lifecycle. You'll always
Hmm.
ensure that you are following the standards, and the standards is following the regulatory agencies, and the regulatory
Okay.
agencies means the legal team have reviewed it, they have approved it.
Huh.
That is why all these chain comes into a particular workflow. So if
Hmm.
the software is developed by following all these standards and secure development lifecycle policies, that is where the development team will now have to concentrate on data minimization. Data
Hmm.
minimization stands for how much minimum information you need to run your business.